Good morning, folks. I've been requested on the comments to do a short video giving a little bit of more information on the actual greenhouses and high tunnels that I have set up. Some of the what to knows, what to considers, all those kind of things if you're gonna think about doing this. There's a ton of options in doing this, and by no means, every scenario is going to be different, depending on what you're trying to do, depending on what you're trying to grow, depending on what time of year you're trying to do it in. All kinds of factors are involved. So I'm going to give you some insights on what I did, and just what to consider maybe in a few things, and go from there. Also, for you guys who are really interested in putting up a greenhouse or a high tunnel, this fall, sometime this fall, if everything goes right, I'm going to be adding 2 more houses at the end of this line here, at the far end there. And I will definitely be getting some good video footage of that. It takes about a 2.5 day to 3 days to put one of these up. And I'll get one of my kids on the camera watching that thing all the time, getting some good footage on that as it happens. Might even get some Amish crew on there by chance, if for those who are interested in them. But so anyway, what the difference here between some of these houses are: lengthwise, widthwise, arch beamed, all of the main structure of these houses are identical. There's no difference there that I had done. So these are technically 195 feet by 32 feet wide. Now there's all kinds of options. You can go, I mean, you can pick your width. I mean, you can get these custom made, but the most common widths are, your smaller hoop houses might be 20 foot or 22 foot wide. But this from where I got these, the most common in my growers, 30 foot is sometimes, but 32 foot wide is a very common width. Some guys will go a 34 foot wide. The nice thing about having a 34 foot wide, I mean, I have 8 rows of tomatoes in there right now. My outside rows are about 2 feet from the wall. So if I had that extra foot, it would just make a little bit more of that walking on the outside handy. Now I'm figuring when it's time to pick, my sides are going to be up, and I'll probably be almost stepping in and out from the outside. So I'm not too worried about that. And also I can have, picking wagon on that outside, or it's not a big deal. But for the cost difference of having that extra 2 feet, I just went with the standard model on that. But you can, depending on what you're trying to do, how many rows you're trying to put in, you might want to consider that. This is a typical shape of them. You have all kinds of different options. I don't really have much insight on one versus the other necessarily. One thing I did do though, the hoops that are set are 5 foot apart from each other. The thought behind that is for strength. If you want to be able to handle snow in the winter, you got to be about at least 4 to 5 feet in width. What I had done, typically when you have a house that is not heated, you're going to be at a 6 to 7 foot hoop length. Now that saves you money. I mean, ends up being, I didn't do the math, but 6 or 7 less arches in a house, and that saves you some money significantly. Probably, $1,000, $1,500 a house cheaper to do that, just for the hoops. And then there's other factors that are cheaper. But the reason I had put all of mine identically the same is because I want the ability here in 3-4 years to turn all of these houses into heated houses. If, in other words, get heaters in them and be able to withstand snow over the winter time. I wanted the ability to do that down the road, knowing that's probably going to happen. I just figured on it. I put them at 5 foot so that I would not have, because changing that house from a 5 foot to a 7, from 7 and deciding later I want to turn this into a double plastic heated house. I mean, I got a major expense to do that, and I just figured it's going to happen. I might as well prepare for it and plan on it. So that's why they went like that. So I went overkill on the unheated houses as far as the necessity for strength. And I went slightly, they would want to go typically 4 foot on these guys, and they were fine with going 5 feet. So I kind of split the difference on that. And these guys are built to withstand the winter. The biggest issue I got to be concerned about is if it would snow a lot, like say 2 feet, and I'd have snow piling up on one side, or like falling off the roof and laying in between these houses, to the point where it would actually have weight pushing sideways. You could cave in on the side, but that's the reason why we put these 12-foot paths in between. You know, a lot of guys wonder why that space in between, that's wasting ground. It is wasting some ground, but what that is for is so I can take a skid loader up through there in the winter time if I have a 2-foot snow, and I can clear that stuff out of there so it's not going to push my house in. Because if I was, say there was only a foot or two in between there and snow piled up on both sides, that can become a tremendous weight and can actually cave my house in some cases and cause problems. So that was recommended to me by the greenhouse company there to do that, to allow that option. So I will be seeding some grass in between there here shortly, as soon as I get a chance in time. So that'll look real nice here this summer, but that's what I did there. I think I already told you these first 3 houses have heat. You can see the gas vents, pipes coming out there. Number 4 is set up. I have the gas line run to number 4, but the heaters are not in yet. That should happen this fall, providing I have the ability and the money to do it. So that's the plan. What else do I want to cover here? So we have a vent here to coming in the bottom end, 2 fans at the top end sucking out. As soon as that temperature thermostat gets to 80 degrees, those guys turn on and suck air through the house and out the other end to keep the heat stabilized. If it gets too sunny out, I gotta crack doors. If the temperature outside gets up into the 70s, I'm gonna have to raise the sides. And you'll see this later. I'll just show you briefly right here. I have the ability with this crank here to crank my bottom purlin there along the whole length of that whole 95-foot long pipe there. I can crank that thing up to that top of that string that's going to wrap up there. That string there is just to keep my sides from blowing out. When if the wind would be blowing, it keeps that sides tight. That string there's got some tautness to it. Actually, that's not very taut at all, but it's supposed to. I might have to actually tighten them up some, but that helps us keep things under wrap from getting around. Now, I also got channel locks on the bottom, so it's locked in right now. But if for some reason I had this cranked up, say a foot or two, that string keeps, if the wind blows in the middle of the day, keeps that thing from blowing out and getting something, breaking something for me there, and just keeps that side wrapped in. I'll show you when I get inside here, but these heated houses have double layer plastic. So if I reach up here, you know, that's like a drum. That's, I don't know, you can't hardly tell probably from the video, but it's nice and smooth up there. That's actually inflated. That's being inflated, and you can see this is the outside view of that little fan. It's a little 1/3 amp fan blowing in the inside. I can show you that when we get inside. And that inflates this entire roof. It's unbelievable that it can do that, but it's, you know, 195 foot in length and probably 45 feet, you know, up over top. What's being inflated is basically from this, they call it wiggle wire. Wiggle wire here goes in this channel lock, and that's the only thing that is keeping this tight up top. That runs the whole length of the house and all around. It's the same thing on the other side. And that allows me to inflate that top, and that helps keep my warm air in there through the middle of the night. And if I got a 20-30 degree night, it really helps. It also helps with that's inflated if I have a lot of storm or wind. That plastic doesn't take near the abuse that it would if it was not inflated. So that just the air kind of just blows over, then makes it just kind of you can just kind of see it ripple a little bit, but it's not flopping. And if you had flopping plastic, that's a recipe for having a hole after a while. So let's hop inside quick. I want to keep this video short, and it's getting long on me here. So I think I covered most of the main things here. So that'll show you this fan from the inside here. It's not a big guy, it's just a little guy there. 6-inch diameter fan basically. And that thing, it takes a good hour to inflate that up. It takes a while, but once it's taut, it just keeps that thing goes 24/7, 365. Keep this thing inflated all the time, unless I lose electric. So yeah, the unheated houses would only have a single layer. There's no reason to have a double layer in those houses. Now I can add that double layer at any time if I end up putting heaters in there. All I need to do, because of how I have these built, is literally extend my gas line to the hookup to the heaters, hang the heaters, and put a second layer of plastic on, and I got a ability to have a heated house that I could more or less grow all season if I wanted to, or I can start as early in the year as I want, go as late in the year as I want, as long as I want to spend the money on fuel, on heat. I think it's about mostly what I wanted to cover. Like I said, here in the fall we're going to be building 2 more and kind of give you some footage from the ground up of how these things go up. And I'll tell you what, it doesn't take long to throw one up. Takes money, but it doesn't take a lot of time. So let me know if there's any other questions you have about these guys, and we'll go from there.